Hey there.
The Warzone Sports Network presents the Fantasy Football Speakeasy. Stay tuned and never miss out.
Less than 24 hours away from like the actual kickoff of fantasy football. I am way too excited about this for a fully grown man, father of three. But welcome into the Warzone Sports Network. We're going to have some fun today. We got a lot of fantasy teams to grade. Hopefully we don't crush anybody's expectations of adding that fantasy championship to their mantle. Welcome into the Speakeasy. Knock twice, come in here and get some of this sweet goodness on the fantasy football information. I'm Tony Tucker. That's Mike on the mic. And we're just going to go through. We got so much stuff to get into. Tomorrow morning, we'll be with you starting at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, talking starts and sits. And I'm even going to throw out some of my own. I need some help. But before we get into too much stuff, like we started the Warzone of Attrition Fantasy League. It's a crazy league, 16 teams and multiple quarterbacks and all this crazy scoring. And a trade went down. And I would like people in the chat, before we get into grading your teams, to evaluate the winners and losers of this trade. And our very own Mike on the mic is part of it. So, Mike, let me go ahead. I got it right here. I'm going to throw it on the screen. Whoops.
I had you.
That's
you guys, if you're in the chat for the team gradings, we are going to grade them after we talk about this trade a little bit, after we talk about the Warzone Attrition Fantasy League. Send me your teams on Mike on the Mic Sports Instagram so it refreshes to the top of my feed. It'll help me a lot getting your guys' teams on here, but we are going to grade the teams after this. Anyways, let's talk about it, Tony.
Let me interpret that for you, too. My name's Mike. I'm super popular on Instagram, and I get lots of messages. That's what he's saying. He's saying he's cooler than all of us because he needs them to be refreshed to the top.
I just appreciate everyone tuning in, and I want to make sure I get to everyone, so everyone's got to send it to the top of my feed. So I just got varies. So, if you guys send it, I see it. All right, let's go ahead.
Let's do it. All right, so 3-team trade went down just the day after the draft, where Joe Morley, our favorite Warzone Sports Network co-founder / troll of the Dallas Cowboys, receives Matt Ryan, Daniel Jones, Nick Chubb, Mike Williams, and Dan Arnold. He had no quarterbacks in a 2-quarterback league because something came up and he went to auto draft, and his only quarterback was Cam Newton after the draft. So he definitely comes out on top from the element that he now at least has 2 starting quarterbacks. Mike, who was there for the draft, drafted a great team, not as good as mine, but a great team, somehow manages to get Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler added to his roster. And then Jay Fly, host of Laughing Quietly to Myself Tuesday nights on the Warzone Sports Network, gets Derrick Henry, Ronald Jones, which now that looks very sad after the Thursday night football game. Jamar Chase, Mark Andrews, who I think is going to be a beast now, especially with all of those injuries, and Zacchaeus. I'm not going to try the first name. I'll just go with Zacchaeus, the Atlanta Falcons wide receiver. So in the chat, who do we think won? I originally said Joe Morley won this trade for 2 reasons. One, he gave up Henry, but he gets back Nick Chubb in a full point PPR. That's not a huge downgrade, but he added 2 quarterbacks to a team where he didn't have any quarterbacks. Mike, what are your thoughts on this trade? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I was kind of just like, I don't know. Joe Morley kind of just looped me into the deal a little bit. We were going to do a deal, Matt Ryan for Keenan Allen straight up, which you may call crazy in a 2 QB league, but I drafted Matt Ryan because I had no one else I really liked at that spot. So to go from no one that I really liked at that spot to my favorite receiver in football, what a great trade that was set up for me. But Joe was already talking with Jay about this mega deal they were going to do involving Derrick Henry, and he was like, I might just throw you in there. Just throw Rojo in there, and I can get you Austin Eckler. Well, obviously I'm going to take that. So I feel like I won when it comes to – I was looking for Keenan Allen for Matt Ryan, and I ended up getting Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler. But Joe's the big winner because his team went from unplayable pretty much to now he can actually compete. And he's projected to win his week 1 matchup, and he was projected to lose by 30.
And as you can see, we both think that Keenan Allen might just be the best receiver in the NFL. We don't know. Like Keenan Allen is about to play with the best quarterback. Well, I don't want to disparage Phillip Rivers, but at this point, the talent that he got to play with Phillip Rivers compared to what he's getting to play with Justin Herbert for the final couple of years of Keenan Allen's time as a top guy, it's going to be a big difference. The Austin Eckler injury, we both just have our fingers crossed that it's nothing major. It's mainly precautionary, and he just goes out there and balls for the Washington football team. But I am curious to know who people in the chat think won this trade. I'm going to stick with Joe Morley as the winner. Mike, if we have our first team to be graded, because the chat's jumping off, I appreciate everybody getting in here. We'll try and be as kind as we can.
Yeah, left one. So they're saying Joe won. That's Joe Morley Sports. He's another host in this show, on this channel. There you go. If you can trade Taylor for Chubb and Pitts, you do it. Jay Morley. I don't know who that is. Another account. Could I trade Jonathan Taylor for Chubb and Pitts? What do you think, Tony?
Yes, you should. You should do that. Jonathan Taylor, to me, he's going to be great. He's going to be the focal point of that offense. I don't think that they're just going to start airing it out now that they have one. So I think he adds a dynamic they didn't have last year with Phillip Rivers, but you can now have a top 5 tight end, top 7 tight end. Let's say he has a little bit of a struggle at the beginning of the year. Kyle Pitts does, but you can add Kyle Pitts and Nick Chubb, who's gonna. People are down on him in PPR. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna get a lot of games where he's running out the clock behind that beastly offensive line. So definitely do that trade. We
will find out if I'm the Wolf of Wall Street later on in the year. How it goes. Yes, I have a couple loaded up here. So I have Very _ I have Jake Crows, I have Rip Beard, Connor Gray, and Pulsed on TikTok. If I didn't say your name, you got to send me a message on TikTok so it comes to the top of the feed so I can easily grab it, because we're trying to run the stream and go to Instagram at the same time. It's a little bit challenging, but here you go. Here's the first one. This is Very _ If you guys want me to blank out names and stuff, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to do it on StreamYard, so I apologize ahead of time. But
yeah, and Uncle Tony will take care of you if anybody comes after you. Let me know. We'll get him. We'll go after him Warzone Army style. So this first one here, Jefferson of a gun. I like this. I really like this.
Names are gonna play into the. Oh, I didn't think the names. They might be really bad, but anyways.
It took me a second because I'm one of the elderly community. But we got Josh Allen, a quarterback. That's an A. Nick Chubb, David Montgomery combo right there. I mean, that's a 1 and a 2. That's an A. Justin Jefferson, that's an A. Cooper Kupp as your number 2. A. Kittle, A tight end. Brandon Cooks is the first spot where I see with all the studs on this team, but if he's your 3rd wide receiver and his main competition is who? Nico Collins? I don't even know another receiver. Although I think Collins could be, sort of a sneaky guy to have at the end of your rosters. Yeah. But Brandon Cooks at your flex is great. And then you got the Rams defense, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. Who else they got?
Out of 10, Tony, is the grading scale we're using, by the way.
Out of 10.
Yeah, that's what we've been using. I've been calling just solid playoff teams that I don't know if are going to be able to push for a championship a 7. That's kind of the scale I've been using.
Yeah, that feels nice.
Lock championship teams being a 10, and the 8 to 9 being well, you may have an injury or two, but you should still win your league. But this roster right here, Nick Chubb and David Montgomery. I have been buying a bunch of Montgomery stock. I don't know why. I just got a feeling about the kid, but he's also young. He's hungry. He's in a position where it seems like there's a turning of a tide going on in Chicago a little bit. So I feel like he's going to have a little bit extra motivation there, a little bit extra positivity surrounding the team's offense in general, with Justin Fields coming in eventually. Justin Jefferson and Kupp, not a bad receiving core when you load up on the running backs like that. And, of course, I'm assuming he had to draft Josh Allen kind of early and George Kittle kind of early. Brandon Cooks, he's one of the few receivers where I'm I'm okay with it. He's going to get a lot of volume in Houston, at least. When they are throwing the ball, he's the best weapon by a wide margin. I think this is a good team. And like I said, solid playoff team with a chance to maybe reach into championship contention. I'm willing to go 8.5. And it's a very realistic team. That's what I love about it. You could draft this team in a 12-man.
So this team is a 9 and definitely a championship contender, right? Like the flex isn't, like I said, there's a little bit of concern there, but not a ton. Like if Brandon Cooks is my flex, I still feel great about it. And the kicking situation, obviously, this seems like a real streaming opportunity. And the Rams defense should still be up there. A lot of people are drafting the Rams defense high, and I do think that they have playmakers, but you lose Brandon Staley, you lose those 2 safeties. Are they going to be worth the draft capital that I'm seeing some people spend on them? Because there's still some really good players left on the board when people are drafting the Rams defense. And I think that you don't see a lot of defenses repeating like really great success. Now, obviously it's easier when you have Donald Rams. Is it Floyd? Is that the linebacker? Who's the guy on the other side that I'm blanking
It's Leonard
on?
Floyd. Yeah, he really stepped up last year, coming from Chicago to LA, and then he re-signed with them this year, so they got some confidence in him. Everyone drop your grades in the chat. Same old's going 8.5. I'm going 8. I would give the 9 Tony's giving if instead of Cooks, not that I don't like Cooks in the flex, I'd like him as one of your depth wide receivers, maybe a guy you rotate in with Cooper Kupp during bad matchups. But I like to see like a Myles Gaskin or a Dame Harris or someone like that right there. It's going to be a running back that could reach above. I could see Cooks have those games where it's like the Texans just got murdered. And he didn't get anything.
Yeah. My problem with Cooks too is that like, what if he sees the number 1 corner like every time? You know, like he could be in that sort of a situation. He's had a lot of success in the NFL, but he's always played like when he played with Brady. Obviously, that's a quarterback that's going to find ways to get you the ball and mismatches, whatever. Or he played with the Rams where he was like one of 3 great targets. Now he is the guy where he could be getting a shadow coverage situation every week, and we'll see how that works out. I went with a 9. I mean, you got A's. You got an A plus matchup at like quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. Like that team's going to win a lot of games. Right,
it's looking like an 8.59. So very good team. Yep. Group consensus came up with that for very underscore. Thank you for sending in your team. Here is Jake's team. Jake Crow sent in this squad. The Uniontown. I said Onion. The Uniontown Raiders.
Who I'm having trouble seeing who is this. I'm having trouble just seeing this roster in general. So help me out here.
Oh, you are? It's quarterback is Russell Wilson.
Okay.
Running backs are James Robinson, Darrell Henderson. Wide receivers are Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins. That explains the running backs. Tight end Noah Fant. Flex Brendan Ayuk with Malcolm Brown on the bench there. I see him. He's on the screen. And then the Rams defense and Tyler Bass at kicker. Another good team, I think. The running backs worry me a little bit.
Yeah, the running backs, they worry me a little bit in the idea that like we just don't know if James Robinson is going to get the volume that he got last year. I'm not terribly. I was more worried for Robinson when Travis Etienne was still healthy, but Carlos Hyde, has he really ever shown us? Like, this is the argument that everybody has about, like, Fitzmagic. Like, Carlos Hyde is on, like, his 9th team, and there's a reason for that. He does have the loyalty with Urban Meyer, but I'm not that worried about him there. Darrell Henderson, I think he's going to be not in a competition, but they traded for Sony Michel, so I don't think he's, like, going to necessarily be a workhorse. This team falls closer to like a 7 because the running back situation, 7.5. But those 3 wide receivers and Fant, we'll see. I'm excited for Noah Fant. Playing with Teddy Bridgewater. And I think that week 1, we could see Fant maybe have the best matchup because it looks like Adoree Jackson's going to play. And then you got Bradbury on the other side for the Giants. Could be a tough day for Sutton and Jerry Jeudy in the Big Apple. So it could be a nice start to the season. I'm going to go with like a 7.5. Also, too, because Russell Wilson, like, did they solve the offensive line problem? Are we going to see another thing where the end of the year he just sort of wears down and he's not great at playoff time? Obviously, most matchups, you're going to have a plus, but he also has games against the Rams and Like that's two matchups right there that are tough, and then you got 2 matchups against the 49ers. It's a decent percentage of your game.
It is tough. Yeah, I'm probably going like a 6 on this team. Like I said, that 7 is kind of like locked in playoff rosters for me. The running backs concern me, and I feel like if one of these 2 wide receivers miss time, you're really screwed, and you might be forced to trade one of them, honestly, because the running backs, yes, you do have RB1s on teams, both James Robinson and Darrell Henderson, but how solid are those RB1s? I like those guys as my flex plays this year. So having them as your RB1 and 2 is a little bit concerning to me, because if you lose Devontae Adams or lose DeAndre Hopkins, like that leaves you with a roster that's probably not going to be able to make a playoff push to me. So I'm gonna go 6 out of 10. Spite a season, you got to send it to Mike on the Mic Sports. And if you already sent me your team, you got to put in the same thread like a little emoji or something so it comes to the top of the feed so I see it. I've seen people's come in, so we're gonna try and grade as many as we can. Everyone's saying 7.5, so I'm a little bit lowballing. They're more towards you here, Tony, in the chat this time.
Well, let me say this lastly about the team, 7.8. I like that. And that's what I'm about to say about the receivers. If this is a full point PPR, you're starting 2 super high volume wide receivers. And then I think Brandon Ayuk is also another going to get a lot of volume. Like people are worried about them coming back, but you might get more space for Ayuk with Kittle and Samuels on the field. You might be able to get him more sort of drag routes, or wide receiver screens, and just put the ball in that playmaker's hand and let him cook defenses all year. Who do we got up next? Thank you for sending that in. We appreciate it.
Like a 7, Jay Crow, I think overall 7.5 in the chat mostly. He put a 6.5. Okay, next team. It's either R.I. Bread or it's Rib Reed, one of the 2 on Instagram. Here's his squad. Can you see this one?
So we got Lamar Jackson, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb. Is that Emmanuel Sanders? Adam Thielen, George Kittle, Raheem Mostert, and I can't see the one at the bottom. It's too blurry.
That's Matt Prater at kicker.
Matt Prater at kicker. Okay. Whew. That wide receiver situation is scary. Is this half point PPR are we talking about? Like Emmanuel Sanders, as my friend Bogey calls him, Uncle Manny, Uncle Manny Sanders, Uncle Colonel Manny Sanders. I don't know how much is left there. I've been considering dropping Emmanuel Sanders in the one league I have him that's super deep, just for the upside of certain rookies that are still available. Like Brown is still available in that league. There's a couple other, I think Eskridge is still available. So I'm just not sure. Maybe he's the wide receiver too. The wide receivers seem like a bit of a downfall, although Adam Thielen has something left. The running backs are the high point. And when I say running backs, I mean Lamar Jackson is now by far the best running back left in the Ravens backfield.
So, Tony, with this roster, here's what I'm doing. This roster can be a championship level roster. Send Nick Chubb for a depth RB. Move up whoever you have on your bench that's the best RB for DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf and a depth RB for Nick Chubb. Bam.
What, like depth wise though? Like who are you getting?
A bench guy, like a Michael Carter or something. Someone that's going to be like you got to wait on them so that they'll be willing to give them up. But it's someone that you are eyeing for come playoff time. I have a solid RB2 still with Alvin Kamara, but I also now have DK Metcalf and George Kittle. Adam Thielen's an okay wide receiver too. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
it worries me as the wide receiver 1. I mean, it's technically Thielen. It's just listed as Sanders.
I might even, that seems a little rich for me. Like anybody who drafts Michael Carter has the intentions of hanging on to him for the second half of the season. I might target the player who has Tony Jones Jr. if you don't have him and one of his top receivers, right? So like if you try to get DK and Tony Jones Jr. to handcuff Alvin Kamara, then you move up Mostert into that spot, or maybe try and target the guy who has Trey Sermon and a mid-level receiver, like Trey Sermon and let's say, I don't know, like who's in that middle range, like Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, one of those guys, maybe Robert Woods. Like Yeah, I would say Adam Thielen, but you already have Thielen on your team. It's doable. I like this roster less than the last one because of the wide receiver situation. And the running backs. Again, Mostert, we've never seen him be a workhorse. So I'm going with last one was a 7.5. This is a 7.
I don't know. This is tough. I mean, I like the running back still. I forgot he even has Mostert there in the flex. So if you did trade Chubb, you could probably just move Mostert up. But what if you could find someone that's willing to take Mostert off your hands for a really solid wide receiver? I don't know. Maybe that might be a play also. I'm okay with the 7. What do you guys think in the chat? I'm okay with the 7. I feel like this team makes the playoffs as is, but with some moves, this can become a championship roster.
I just don't think you're getting consistency from Sanders as your wide receiver too. Yeah. And then Mostert, again, at the flex, it's like 140 carries, I think, was like the most he's ever taken. If he stays healthy all year and he gets 250, 240, then you have somebody that could really be like a league winner, because he's also going to be involved in the passing game, and the guy can fly. Would he hit like 23 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Like in my neighborhood, you can't go more than 18, or somebody's going to beat you over the head with one of the "my children lives in this neighborhood," or drive like your kids live in this neighborhood. I'm like, they do, lady. Stop hitting my minivan with your sign.
Yeah, stop hitting Tony's damn minivan.
I know.
This team has the building blocks right here with the Lamar Jackson, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, George Kittle. The building blocks are there. Someone in here said that their first team, they weren't here for it. Oh, he said he wished he could show the bench. Who's on the bench? Let us know. I'm interested. It was the first team.
Yeah. I'm interested in who they have on the bench too, because I think that adds. Felke with the 8.
Yeah, we're seeing some 8s in here. 6s also. I think a 7 was a really good pick there. Spider season. Okay, Spider season. I'll get yours right now. Next time Tony starts talking about the next team, which is.
I don't know.
Ready?
Yep. Go ahead.
Connor Gray's squad.
Whew.
A little bigger. You see it.
It is a little bigger. And it does help. Lamar Jackson, Eckler, Chubb, Jefferson, Lockett, Pitts, Gaskin, Patriots defense, and Graham Gunnell. This is the second team with Graham Gunnell. Am I sleeping on Gunnell, people? We got got a bunch of Giants fans in here. I don't love Tyler Lockett as much as other people do, right? Because I think it's a very boom or bust situation. Like he either gets double-digit receptions and 100-some yards and a couple touchdowns, or he's very quiet. There doesn't seem to be. It feels just very inconsistent. But again, whenever you get that consistency, it's great. Gaskin, I've been up and down on Gaskin. I want to know who the third receiver is on this team, but I'm probably back at that 7.5 range with this team too. Like this is a borderline playoff team with some health, because Lamar Jackson's value continues to elevate to me. At some point, those receivers are going to get healthy, and Lamar Jackson now is going to be running more with all the injuries in that backfield, like Latavius Murray and Devonta Freeman, Lev Bell, Tyson Williams. Maybe Tyson Williams is this year's James Robinson.
Ooh. You want to hear his bench? This is a really good roster. His bench has Allen Robinson, Dame Harris, T. Higgins, Baker Mayfield, Noah Fant, and Devonta Smith.
That's the bench on this team?
His bench on this team. So he has Allen Robinson. I don't know why Allen Robinson isn't in for Lockett.
Why are Allen Robinson and T. Higgins not in this lineup?
He has JJ and Ty. I mean, that's got some really good receivers. This is a really good team.
That's his. I don't even know how you draft all those players to one team.
These guys are all like those mid-round guys. So if he's drafting a home league where, I mean, you've seen some of these home league teams come out.
Yeah, but Allen Robinson would be right there in that, like, Justin. I mean, how do you get Justin Jefferson, Kyle Pitts, Allen Robinson? Like, good on you, man. And if you updated this, now that I know what the bench is, this team is a 9 for me. Because if you can start Jefferson, Allen Robinson, and T. Higgins on a weekly basis, and then you can rotate between Eckler, Chubb, Gaskins with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Kyle Pitts at tight end. This is a 9. That's a playoff winning team. And I think the Patriots defense is going to be good, people. I think
I'm willing to go 9.5 or even a 10 when you look at the trade possibilities. I mean, you could send you can even send Ty Lockett if you want. I mean, you could feel comfortable trading 2 of these receivers for another running back. I mean, what would someone give up for Dame Harris, T. Higgins, and Devonta Smith right now? Probably could get something there. I mean, I'm 9.5. What do you guys think of that?
It's a good roster. I'm going with a 9. This is probably right there with the first 9 that I gave as like 2 well-constructed rosters. And what do they have in common? They both have Graham Gano. Congratulations.
Oh, Lee? Okay, I'll get to yours, Lee. I'll hop on Instagram here in a minute. This team's at 8.6 for same old, 9 for Thomas easily. And Connor was talking about it also. The Jalen Ramsey matchup is the reason he has Allen Robinson on the bench. That kind of makes sense when you have these kind of options at receiver. 9.5. Yeah. So it's looking like that 9 range is good, Tony.
And T. Higgins may have a tough matchup too. I know some people are saying like, oh, well, Pat Peterson could be on Jamar Chase or whatever.
Angles.
I don't think Pat Peterson is like, hey, the kid who dropped all the footballs, I want to shadow him. I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he's worried about him. He's going to be like, hey, kid, there's no white stripes on this ball this Sunday. So I'm going to go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to take T. Higgins, the better one. I'm going to shadow him and show the league that I still got it.
Christian said 8.5. Yours is coming up soon here, Christian. This team belongs to Post on TikTok is the username on Instagram. Here's his squad. He's got Lamar Jackson, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Julio, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Travis Kelce. No defenses and kickers in this league. That's interesting.
Yeah, and he's got Mike Evans at flex. I'm not worried about Mike Evans. I saw a lot of people on Twitter yesterday panicking about Zeke and Mike Evans. And I think it's just that early season overreaction that we're just so ready for the season to start. But if anybody who's panicking, and I'm in a league with you, I'm all in for Zeke or Mike Evans. Please reach out.
Send them to me. But yeah, I mean, and I saw it on TikTok too. I forget the username. This guy came out and said he's the best fantasy TikToker of all time because he called Mike Evans and Zeke having a bad game. Like, they're inconsistent players. There's other people that said this, and everyone says this. They do this. Zeke and Mike Evans are inconsistent in their offenses because they're loaded offenses. So based on the game plan, it's going to go different directions every week. Watch. You're going to see Zeke pop off next week. You're going to see Mike Evans pop off next week.
If Blake Jarwin could hold one block, Zeke gets in and he has double-digit day. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it was like 3rd and goal, and they do like a quick toss.
A little deep.
And now, obviously, you want Zeke to be able to win that matchup, but I think it was Adams was the corner that came up. He made a nice play. Sometimes people make nice plays and they ruin your day. That was also like a little bit of game script. So don't give me this that Zeke is not good or washed or whatever. He's fine in an offense that's going to score 33 points a game on average this year. This team that's on the board right now,
first team, I guess. He's new to fantasy, so
new to fantasy. So I'm a little concerned with the fact that neither one of those running backs are pass catchers. Like, neither one of those guys are involved in the passing game. Maybe that changes this year. But you know, a lot of consistency there. Julio, if he's healthy, obviously he's never played next to somebody like AJ Brown. No offense to Calvin Ridley or Roddy White, but they're not AJ Brown, in my opinion. Juju, feels consistent. You know, like he feels like that reliable target for Ben, catching a lot of stuff near the line of scrimmage. So that feels pretty safe. And like I said, Mike Evans will be fine. Who am I missing at tight end? Is that Travis Kelce there?
Kelce.
That's A+, A+ at quarterback. You got an A running back.
What? Kelce, Chubb, Jackson, and then the rest in whatever order the rest came.
I think I would go. I think you probably went Chubb, Kelce, Julio, and then Jackson. Lamar Jackson's ADP, he dropped quite a bit.
Wow.
Like, he was going in like the 3rd and 4th round. So if he had a later pick maybe pick 11 in a 12-team league. You go
Okay.
Chubb falls to 11.
They didn't start hot, but the Buccaneers defense against bad offenses is probably still going to be good. His Buccaneers
Also,
defense also.
Once the defense is in mid-season shape, they're going to be fine. Turnovers and sacks, and it's going to be crazy. And you got to respect the Cowboys have playmakers all over the field. Like, you can't just play all out against them.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm going to go. I mean, this is a good team. Receivers could be a little bit stronger, I guess. I think 7 or 6.
Yeah, this is a 7 with an opportunity. And again, who's on his bench? But I think this is a 7. You know, like maybe he has Trey Sermon on his bench, and that all of a sudden you get him in your lineup, or he has Javonte Williams. You know, somebody that I think is a little bit more involved in the passing game and a bigger part of the Broncos offense. This is 7. This team's going to compete for championships. This is better than the first team I ever drafted. First team I ever drafted was filled with Green Bay Packers. I was like 13 or 14 years old. I was younger than that, 12, and I was obsessed with the Green Bay Packers and Brett Favre.
All right, 7 is kind of the consensus. Next team was sent in by Thomas. Thomas is in the chat. So Thomas, thanks for tuning in. I seen you. I put you on the list, and here's your team. Live on the air on the Warzone Sports Network. Make sure you guys are smashing the like button. It helps out a ton in this video's algorithmic movements. Appreciate it. That's pretty good, huh? Algorithmic movements.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tongue twister.
Dak Prescott, who went off, obviously, threw the ball 60 times in game 1. Cook, Harris, Hill, Allen, Gesicki, J-Rob. Ooh, this is a good team, Tony.
This is maybe the best team that I've seen. So this is my 9-5 right here. And the only had you showed me this team before I saw Thursday Night Football, I probably would have been an 8.5 or a 9 with a little bit of concern for Dak. I didn't see any reason for concern. He was running. He was aggressive. He was throwing the ball. CeeDee Lamb, outside of a couple drops, looked really good. Blake Jarwin looked like he was good and back. So you have Delvin Cook. Harris is going to get a ton of volume there. And then you got Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen. Both could finish inside the top 5 to 7 of wide receiver this year. Gesicki, I think, is a nice security blanket. And James Robinson, ton of volume. And maybe he is involved in the passing game a little bit without ATN there. Like maybe they get the screen game going. And you got my cousin, Justin Tucker.
Right, I'm going 9.5, Tony.
Yeah, I think this is the best team.
T-Hawk instead of Gesicki somehow, and this will be a 10 out of 10 roster. I mean, Gesicki I don't think is weak, but you're going to have weeks where the Dolphins' offense is just in a defensive battle, and they don't really do very much. And that's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen as long as they don't have like this big playmaking quarterback in there. But there may be one coming soon, so don't worry, Dolphins fan.
But I think that plays to his advantage a little bit. Gesicki's advantage is that why not go with the easier intermediate throws to Gesicki or Jalen? That's why I like Jalen Waddle. I'm bummed I didn't get Jalen Waddle in more leagues. I only have him in 1.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle is the guy that people are talking about. I like to stay away from rookie receivers usually, but Jalen Waddle might be an exception. So I'm going 9.5, especially when I see DeAndre Swift's the first person on his bench down there. That's nice. Yeah. What'd you say, 8.5?
I said 9.5. I just based on this, I don't even need to see the bench if that's your starting group.
Yeah. What do you guys think in the chat here? Let me know. Let us know. We're here for it. The next one up is going to be Christian Redfern's team chugging along here. Tony, how long do you want to do this? 45 minutes?
Yeah, we gotta prep for another show after this, but I don't know, I'm kind of enjoying it. A lot of people here. The chat is freaking in fire. Like this is a good time. Okay. Aaron Rodgers, CMC, Chubb, Hill, Evans, Tunyon, and Antonio Gibson at your flex? How's this possible, homie? Like, how do you have Tyreek Hill and CMC, and then you still were able to get Nick Chubb and Antonio Gibson?
Yeah,
This is a 10. You even with Rob Tunyon, like most weeks, I feel like you could just like I don't know. I don't get it.
Christian in the chat, 11 out of 10, flexing on them. How did you see Christian? Is this a with some trades? I mean, karma's kind of coming for you with Suck Up and Evans already, but is this a 6-man league, 4-man league, 8-man league with a bunch of rooks? I'm assuming we can just call it a 10. I mean, you guys can grade it in the chat. In an 8-man league, it's a 10 in an 8-man league still.
Yeah, like even with that slow start, because I have a league where I had Zeke and Suckup, and now I'm reaching. I took out Jerry Jeudy and I put in Corey Davis just for the upside in that matchup. Because Jeudy, I feel like, has a tough matchup, and I'm starting Jeudy in 2 other leagues. So I was like, let's throw Hail Mary, and maybe Corey Davis, who has a better matchup, eats a little bit. That's ridiculous. That's a 10. Congratulations. You should win a championship.
In the chat. Set my lineup in. Oh yeah, the Snake, JT Silva sent his team in, so we're gonna get to see that soon here. But this is a friend of the network's, same old sports' team. Here he is grading the last team in the chat. Here's his squad. What do you think, Tony? We got to be a little bit more judgmental on his because he is a friend of the network.
He is, but
a big roster.
Damn, Gina.
Solid.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but this has got to be like 10 teams, right? Because this is same old sports. This is a great squad. This is,
especially when you look how deep the roster is. That means that if you drafted in a 10-man league or drafted in a 12-man league, like this is a deep league, and the fact that you have in those 3 flex spots, which are like secondary flexes, Jarvis and Javonte Williams, Sonny Michel ain't bad either. Looks like a standard league, though, because the projections are really low. So, like, Kirk Cousins projected to go for 16. The running backs, neither one projected to go over. Well, they're all 15, 13. It could be PPR, I guess. 18 for Kelsey.
Yeah, this feels like half-point PPR, which adds 10-man league, half-point PPR, looks like. Running backs in half-point, I think this is running backs great. Quarterback, Kirk Cousins is very underrated fantasy matchups. Traded Waller for Taylor. Okay. I mean, as long as there's no tight end premium scoring. I mean, you already have you had Travis Kelce and Darren Waller on this team. Like, how does that work? But yeah, I love the receivers, running backs. This is the flex is where I start to get a little concerned with Williams, Michelle, and Landry. Like, they're good. I'm going to go with an 8.5 on this team. The Bucs defense will be better. And another team with Graham Gano. What am I missing on Graham Gano?
We need to go and start sending out some trade requests.
Graham not going to kick for any of my teams this year. I'll tell you that right now. Hell, the Giants.
Oh,
Daniel Jones. Get out of here.
In a 10-man league this deep, this should be your championship winner. I mean, it should be. Let's go 9.5, 10 out of 10. It's somewhere in that range. What do you guys think in the chat? Spida, I just got yours. I just found it. So I searched it up and found it. So you're good to go. It'll be coming up here in a couple. We have 5 more stacked up.
Okay. Let's keep running.
AYJ is his squad. I can read this one. It's kind of smaller. Pat Mahomes is quarterback. We got Alvin Kamara and Najee Harris at the running backs. That's fun. Robert Woods and Deebo Samuel, the wide receivers. And we got Dallas Goedert at tight end. He's going to have a great day on Sunday, I have a feeling. Brandon Ayuk in the flex. Rams defense, Tyler Bass. I've seen a lot of Ayuk in the flex. I have Ayuk. I have him on my bench. I'm not putting him in my flex.
See, this is a realistic team to me, and so I tend to give it a more fair grade. Like, I assume that this league was drafted with people that are, like, good and competent, and I mean, it's still a bit of a. I don't know how maybe if you drafted at the 2 spot and you went Kamara and then came back around and Harris is still there and Mahomes, maybe that's how you end up with that. I'm big on Robert Woods. I think he's upgraded even just slightly with Stafford. Deebo Samuels, I think, has a big year, especially once Trey Lance gets in there, and his ability and able to extend plays and arm strength. Dallas Goedert, I'm not nearly as worried as other people on him because Zach Ertz stayed. I mean, Zach Ertz is good, but can he still perform at the level of old Zach Ertz? That remains to be seen. And plus, there's going to be plenty of garbage time for the Eagles. The last time we saw them on the field together, I don't necessarily know that there was a lot of garbage time because the defense was still good. Having two receivers from the 49ers is a bit worrisome, though, for me, like in your starting lineup. Because what happens when Kyle Shanahan says, "You know what? We're gonna throw it 7 times today."
Yeah.
He's done it. He's done it in a playoff game. He will run the ball to win games, even in the regular season. So, need to see who's on the bench there, or maybe you trade one of them and diversify a little bit. Although, who knows? What do I know?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 6 out of 10. I like the top 3. I think some work at wide receiver. I'm okay with either one of them being wide receiver 2. Try and go get someone. Try and go get one of those guys that are gonna be in the top 20 or so. I don't think either one of them are landing in the top 15.
This roster's minimum. This is a 7, Mike. No team with Patrick Mahomes and Alvin Kamara could be a 6.
I'm calling it a 6. What do you guys think of that? I'm calling it. I don't think this team would make the playoffs in a league with people that know what they're doing.
I disagree. It
depends on Ayuk and Samuel and which one of those guys are really good. I mean, he's got both of them at least, so it's going to be one of them.
Yeah, it's a 7. I'm going with a 7. Let's move on.
How do you feel about Goddard in the tight end spot? I'm not a big fan.
I'm fine with it. I think there's a lot of garbage time, and I think he's the better tight end at this point in their careers. Like, we're playing on the nostalgia and hope for Zach Ertz. And then who's going to step up there? We are assuming that Devonta Smith's going to get a lot of targets. Is Jalen Reagor going to step up? And then you have like Greg Ward and Travis Fulgham. Like, are we worried about those guys? Like, I still think that Dallas Goedert's a big part of the offense. He's young. He's talented.
There's an 8 right there. Someone here with a long message. Oh, thanks for rating his team. Got you. Auburn will beat Penn State. Yeah, we have a college football show that drops every Wednesday night. If you want to sub and hang around. Riley Robertson, I don't see yours. And it was Lee, I believe. I don't see yours. Send me like something to refresh and bring your chat to the top of my DMs. Anyways, next one was sent in by Austin Sims. Here's the squad. That's a squad. Sheesh. Russ, Cook, Hunt, Metcalf, AJ Brown, Andrews, Claypool, Rams defense again. If you had Graham Gano, it'd really make it perfect.
He went with Pittsburgh's very own Graham Gano, Boswell. This team's an 8.5. Kareem Hunt as the RB2 is solid. I have him as my RB2 in a couple different leagues. And then Claypool. This team is a 9.5 if Claypool emerges as the number 1 target in Pittsburgh. Like, if there's injuries or he just becomes the apple of Big Ben's eyeballs, Claypool, he's huge, he's fast. They get him the ball on all sorts of different ways in Pittsburgh. If there's consistency there, where like every week he's coming out and getting 8 targets, Claypool in at your flex is huge. And Mark Andrews, with all the injuries stacking up, I'm a little mad that I didn't end up with him in 0 leagues this year. He might be somebody that I try and trade for if he has a slow start to the season. So yeah, I'm going 8.5.
Andrews has been their number 1 guy that they go to, especially in the red zone, and that's going to continue with all these crazy injuries the Ravens are dealing with before the season even starts. Let us know what you guys think in the chat. This is a really good team. I mean, those receivers are loaded. Claypool is the 3rd, and you're able to put him in your flex. And then I trust Hunt, especially in PPR, and I think this is PPR with Dalvin Cook projected to score 20. I think that Hunt is going to score over 10 points in every game in a PPR format.
So I think this is half-point PPR because I have him in a half-point PPR, and he's at 10.9 points projected for this week too.
Cook is just going to go off against the Cincy defense is what the projection's saying. Even in half point, if he has 7 catches, what is that right there? That's 4 or 5 points right there without any yards or anything else. I still
3.5.
I trust him with 10 still.
Yeah, I think he goes over 10, and I think he's going to be used a lot because you're playing the Chiefs, right? Like, I don't think Kevin Stefanski's necessarily going to relax thinking he has if he's able to get a lead on the Chiefs. So that's a big. I can't wait for that Browns Chiefs game.
I'm okay with an 8 or 8.5 on this team, maybe even a 9. What are you thinking?
Oh, I don't know. I was just dreaming of how I'm going to be splayed out on my sofa with a beer and food and just consuming as much football as I can.
Chargers football.
Well, by the time that starts, I'll already be, having my victory cigar as we've beaten the Washington football team.
Oh yeah, I'm so happy, and I'm so happy because this morning while I was at the gym, I actually found a Spanish speaking talk show, and my wife's family is a first language of Spanish for most of them. So it's hard to like explain football to them when I don't speak fluent Spanish. But I found a Chargers talk show that's 95% Spanish. Justin Herbert was on it this morning speaking Spanish. Like, this is the perfect episode to send to my wife's family and get them into Chargers football. I'm excited for it.
Just run through the house going, like that. They'll be in a second.
Sorry, Sky. I'm going to get your team up. That was your bench. I don't know why that one came up. Here's Jake Silva, friend of the show, also a Chargers fan. Oof. All right, I'm going to get close to the screen for this one. I'll read it to you, Tony.
I was just going to say, I'm going to need your help on this.
Ryan Tannehill is 2 QBs. Ryan Tannehill, Derek Carr at the quarterback. Receivers are Keenan Allen, Julio Jones, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, and Dame Harris at the running backs. Logan Thomas is his tight end. His flex is Corey Davis, and his super flex is Sam Darnold with Zach Wilson as his first bench. He's got Trey Sermon on there, too, on the bench. Elijah Moore also. Just some notable names. Defense is the Chargers defense. Second defense is the Browns defense. This is a 2-defense, 3-quarterback league, and Sanders is his kicker. So hard to grade this team, but let us know in the chat what you guys think.
So this is a 9 for me, and maybe some other people might not be as high as that. I think Derek Carr is going to have a good numbers year. Like, I really believe that if he wants to stay in Las Vegas and doesn't want to be moved, shipped out for maybe Deshaun Watson's issues clear up, maybe Aaron Rodgers ends up there. Like, unless he's got to have a big year. I'm also like, I think Sam Darnold is going to have a nice season there in Carolina. And then those wide receivers, Keenan, Thielen, Julio, and Corey Davis, like, that feels really strong to me. And Dalvin Cook at running back. Like, this is 9.5. This team's a 9.5. 3 QB league. That sounds like fun. Warzone of attrition. Watch out. Booting out some of you.
Another quarterback. It's got to be a 10-man.
What I want to do next year is I want to be able to combine college and the NFL into one fantasy football smash weekend where, like, you can start college kids too. Like, I don't know. I'm working on how to figure out how to do
Spencer Rattler against the 125th best school in the country instead of Sam Darnold, which would be in this lineup.
We just call it fantasy football gluttony, where all weekend long we watch college football and NFL, and we have 42-man rosters, and everybody's like, what do they drink over at the Wars? Like, what's wrong with Tony? Like, does he really hate his family that much? He can't consume enough sports.
You get a 10 out of me, Jake. I mean, I don't think you could do much better in this deep of a league. Maybe get Ryan Tannehill's a good QB1. I mean, I was going to say QB, but I trust Ryan Tannehill fully. So this is a good team.
Yeah, and Sam Darnold. Like, I would Sam Darnold's the one guy that I would handcuff. I think Joe Morley, he doesn't make a lot of great points, but every once in a while he says things that I agree with, and PJ Walker is somebody you should grab if you have the roster spot. All right, who's next? And that isn't Jake is a Bolts fan.
He is. Right? He is.
Let's get it.
He's got Keenan. We're gonna kill him tomorrow, Jake. We're gonna be live on Instagram if you want to join us, Jake, like I did last year. Here's Spida's team, Spida's season.
F1, love it already. He better be on the roster, and he is.
Yes, he is.
I'm turning a corner on Joe Mixon, so I'm good with this. If health is the only thing, it's never been about talent for me. It's about the fact that the Bengals never seem to invest in their offensive line. So yeah, I'm not worried about Zeke at all. So we got that's Antonio Brown, Terry, Waller, Eckler at his flex. Saucer. Washington football team, D. I think they're going to be good. Hopefully in week 1 they suck. Whew. Let's go with an 8.5 because I like Eckler being your third running back here. Like that even elevates Mixon a little bit more, in my opinion, is that he can be like, depending on who he has at receiver, like maybe this is another situation where this team has like a bad matchup at receiver week 1, or maybe this team also has like DJ Moore on their bench or Corey Davis or somebody like that where there's a little bit more depth. So I'm going with an 8 to an 8.5.
I'm cool with 8.5. I mean,
Yeah.
he went Zeke, I'm assuming, or maybe Eckler, but first 2, Zeke and Eckler, and then Waller, and then got Mixon in round 4. I mean, that's a good first 4 rounds right there. And then you still end up with the Terry McLaurin, Antonio Brown wide receiver core going so heavy running back earlier in your draft. This is a really good team. I'm actually willing to say 9. What do you guys think in the chat? I mean, I think this is a 9. This should be.
It is. I'm going 8.5.
It depends on Zeke and if he keeps doing this, but me and you both have said we don't expect to see 6 points from Zeke very often the rest of the year.
Not at all. Zeke's a monster.
Oh, he has Lockett and Deontay Johnson on his bench also. So, he traded Amari Cooper for Joe Mixon, so that makes sense. Interesting team. I like it. I hope Joe Mix does well against Minnesota for you. Here's Kenneth Couch.
Kenneth Couch. That's a great name.
I hope he's not the fantasy football couch in disguise, and then we just say some dumb stuff about his team.
I don't know who the fantasy football couch is, but I was thinking that's a great opportunity when your name is Couch to have some sort of football show and your name is Couch. Kenneth Couch. Great name, Kenneth. Pat Mahomes, CMC, Tyson Williams. Okay. Coming in hot. Maybe there was injuries to Dobbins and Gus on this team. Is that Tyler Lockett, Deebo Samuels, George Kittle? That's all I can see. This is one of the lesser rosters that we've put up for sure. Like I said, I'm big on Deebo Samuels. Tyson Williams? Really? This is just who he's starting on week 1 because of the opportunity and the fact that he's playing that trash bin in Las Vegas. Like,
also, what about the scenario that he drafted Cam Akers or J.K. Dobbins way too early? And this is like a free agency pickup, an emergency situation. I think that the Mahomes, McCaffrey, Kittle could sneakily carry him more than we expect. That could be 60 points right there.
Yeah, that's fair. But, Mike, you've given worse teams. I said there was a team that had like Alvin Kamara and Patrick Mahomes and like Justin Jefferson, and you're like, that's a 6. He's starting Tyson. We don't even know anything about Tyson Williams.
I'm probably giving the team a 6 still, but it's not like, gosh, man, this team's awful. You stand 0 chance. That's not.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's some work to do, and maybe Tyson Williams is this year's James Robinson. And I would hope that you play the wire, find that wide receiver that becomes the number 1 option for their team. Like if Jalen Reagor, or I know it's not popular, but like Henry Ruggs or Brian, like there's some teams out there, we don't know who the number 1 is going to be. Like maybe Devonta Parker becomes a number 1. I don't know. Neither one of those guys seem like number 1s to me.
Stories been
go with 6.5.
Cam Akers too early, which would make this team a lot better if you had Cam Akers there and healthy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
Curtis
definitely would.
could have been in here somewhere. I don't know where I think I'd probably play Samuel,
Also,
Debo, and Lockett over Samuel still.
yeah.
So we're going sixes. I mean, what do you guys think? There's an 8.7 in the chat. Oh, I think that was the last team.
I got a 6.5. But maybe
I'm going 6, just to stay consistent with my earlier ranking. That was kind of similar team with just Kamara instead of McCaffrey.
Yeah. You're asking for an awful lot from those top three.
Here's Sky's, the one that I messed up on earlier, so I apologize, Sky. That's probably painful. Chris Godwin's on the bench right there with 23 spots sitting in his face. Mahomes, Metcalf, Lamb, Chubb, A. Jones, Andrews, Harris, 10 out of 10.
I'm gonna say that you said Sky. This is Sky.
Sky Baca.
Sky Baca. Great team, and I'm with you. I would have put Godwin on the bench too, because I just don't. I put Antonio Brown on my bench. Like, I wasn't the only person I started was Mike Evans. So I mean, look at me, I'm a dipshit. DK, how could you put Godwin over DK or CD Lamb? I wouldn't do that.
That's true.
And then you got Najee Harris playing the Buffalo Bills defense. Do they scare you? No. I think he's going to get a ton of carries in week 1 in the passing game. Najee Harris is going to have a great week. And then you got to start Chubb and you got to start Aaron Jones. This team is a 9.5. Yeah.
This is 10, Tony. This is a 10. I mean, I don't know how much more perfect you can make it.
You can't really.
10!
10
out of 10. What do you guys think in the chat? In the Diesel League. You see it up there? 10 out of 10.
Pull.
Appreciate you sending the team in, Sky. I'm very glad I went and looked at your team and didn't just look at your bench. This team was sent in by Joe Morley Sports. 0 out of 10. I already picked.
All right. So
Scary Terry's Basement, I'm guessing, is what that team name is.
We got Terry, Hawkinson, Cooper, Allen. Joe, this is a great team. And I know that he didn't even, if this is the team that he has where he then traded for Patrick Mahomes too, is this the same team we've talked to Joe about?
I think so. Yeah. It's
yeah.
The one we had Mahomes and yeah.
Yeah, this is all right. Meat Hammer, if you're listening, and I don't think you made it this far on the show, get my personal number before you start making trades with Joe Morley. This dude's coming in and he's ripping you off. And if he's your boss, we could talk to the fantasy football HR. That's what we need to have. We need to have a fantasy football human resources where people are like, they start leaning on you because of trades. They're using their influence, saying you won't be invited back if you don't accept this trade. You don't have to take that kind of harassment. Not with fantasy football HR.
Okay, so this is not Joe Morley's team. I think what happened, so Joe Morley sent me this team, but Riley Robertson couldn't get their team to me, right? So I don't know what was going on in my DMs, but it wasn't working. Joe sent me Riley's team, I think. I think Riley went to the Warzone Sports Network Instagram and sent it in. So, Riley, we just talked about your team as if it's Joe's in a very positive light.
Which we don't like to do.
So that means it's a really good team, Riley. Yeah. What do you guys think in the chat?
Yeah, this team's a 9.5.
I just assume Joe sent it in the team just because he thinks he's fun. Me Hammer, the offer still stands. We'll talk to Joe because he may be your boss, but we're his boss. Here's Rough Dogs Squad Carter. He's been in the chat this entire time. We appreciate you. I think he was in the chat before we went live. We appreciate you.
Yes, we do. Thank you for that. That's great. And you waited, and bro, you got a 10. I'm okay, 9.5 because Logan Thomas. But let's just say this, like, let's think that maybe Curtis Samuel's like a little slow there at the beginning. If Logan Thomas can have a couple of good weeks, you might be able to move him and also like play the wire, and maybe one of the Patriots tight ends emerges, or maybe like Gerald Everett's available and he emerges, and you add and you can move Logan Thomas and put this team at a 10. Hopefully it's half point PPR because you have 2 running backs that aren't really involved there, but super high floors with them. Dak Prescott going to throw for 7,500 yards. Julio Jones is your flex, and the Broncos defense going to have a good start to the season. I think they have like 3 really favorable matchups of teams that turn over the ball a fair amount in the first, like I think it's like maybe 3 out of 4 or 3 matchups. But yeah, this is a 9.5, and only because Logan Thomas.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm going 9.5.
Tight end.
I see Phil K saying 10, Riley Robertson saying 9, so I think that we're pretty close. I'm looking at the chat. But yeah, 9.5. That tight end spot is the only thing, and I'm gonna say the exact same thing you're saying pretty much. Who would you be looking to ship him off for? Not necessarily specific names, maybe positions for Logan Thomas. Because I have Logan Thomas also, and I'm thinking about sending some deals out.
So Logan Thomas for me would be in that area where you're looking to get a wide receiver that has a slow start to the year, that somebody might be thinking about dropping and you don't want to compete for him on the waiver wire. So maybe Mike Evans feels like a bit much because of the capital, but just like in that range of wide receivers where they're going, like the DJ Charks, Laviska Shenault, like let's say Shenault, which I don't imagine this at all against the Texans, gets shut down. Reach out. Corey Davis has a bad week 1. Reach out to Corey Davis owners. Let's say Tyler Boyd has a slow start. Send him, and then you just play the fantasy wire. In a league like this, there's somebody on tight end is gonna pop there. I mean, this is fine. He could still win a championship with Logan Thomas. It's not like he needs to trade. You don't need to get it to be a perfect 10.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm only a 9.5, and I'm fine with it. I'm not trying to be a 10. Right? Fuck.
It's a little cocky, honestly, trying to be a 10. Here is Thomas's second team. He said this is a 12-man league. He said, and he sent this team in. I don't have any other ones. So if you guys want to send in teams, send them in.
We got to wrap it up, Mike. We got to get to the Washington football team show.
Oh, you're right.
Yep. Right. But yeah, we should do this again, and I can't wait. Everybody who's in the chat next Sunday. F that! I almost swore. I'm so excited. Tomorrow morning we'll be back with starts and sits, and let's talk about who you guys are debating on putting in. And I have some. I will let you know right now that I've already made moves, and I'm going to announce one move that I'm going to make that's drastic, because playing Krusty Fantasy Football on IG, we have all of his rankings up. I need to make a desperate move to try and beat him this week, and desperation shall wreak tomorrow morning. This team, can you help me with it? I like the ones that I can see. There's a couple towards the bottom I can't really.
Yeah, it's just Will Fuller on the bench there. So Stafford, McCaffrey, Chris Carson. Wide receivers are Keenan Allen, T. Higgins, tight end Darren Waller, Dame Harris in the flex, Broncos defense, Josh Lambo. Very realistic team and a very realistically good team.
Yeah, and he said 12
teams. He said in the message with the team, he said it is a 12-man league. I didn't see the format. It might be PPR.
So in a 12-team league, scoring looks like half-point PPR. I think Keenan Allen will be higher in a full point. And well, maybe not. CMC's at what, 25? This is an 8.5. It's so hard to gauge a team with Christian McCaffrey on it, because every time I see it, I'm like, it doesn't even matter who your second running back is. But then you have Chris Carson and you have Harris. Those are both good RB2 options. I'm much higher on Higgins than a lot of people are. And you have Darren Waller, who everybody knows. I think he's full point PPR. So really, Mike Clay at ESPN, you need to bump that up.
That brings Keenan Allen up a little bit too in this, and T. Higgins a little bit too. Because Keenan Allen's a PPR machine. He's gonna have 10 catches on Sunday. He's not gonna have 10 catches.
Who's the DB1 for them? Who could possibly?
Willie Jackson. Fuller, Kendall Fuller. They have Kendall Fuller also.
I saw some of these Washington football teams talking about the last time Willie Jackson locked up with Keenan Allen, he shut him down. And I was like, yeah, when Phillip Rivers was playing on one leg.
Tyrod Taylor. They played week 1 last year with the Bengals. Tyrod Taylor was a quarterback, and I think we threw the ball like 13 times. So, yeah, call that locking down, Mr.
No, the Washington football team. Who's the one there?
Willie Jackson? He was in Cincinnati last year. This is his first year with them.
Okay, so that's what they're talking about. Yeah, all right. Get out of here, Washington football team. Speaking of which, I'm about to go help record that show, which I'm late for.
It's all right.
We appreciate
we're all late for it. Lee, here's your squad. Let's look at it real quick. AK, Taylor, Hopkins, CeeDee Lamb. This is a good team. It's a good team.
It's a great. Who's the? Is that Deontay Johnson and Jason Sanders?
Yeah. No. 8.5.
This is a 9. This is a 9.
That was Lee's squad. I know Lee was in the chat. I want to get it on there. But anyway.
Lee, that's a 9. That's a great team.
Sub, keep an eye on this. Maybe we'll do this again next weekend or something. And we're gonna keep it going. Oh, we didn't give that team a rating, Tony.
Which one? The last one?
The McCaffrey Carson team.
Oh, I did. Yeah. This is to me is 8.5 to a 9. That's in a 12-team league. That's a team that I think can compete for a championship because Matt Stafford, I already have a futures ticket on him going over 30 touchdown passes, and I think it's probably closer to 40.
Ooh. All right. Save the hot takes for tomorrow. Because tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. we are going to be here with your prize picks, last minute over unders, and we are going to be here with your starts and sits for fantasy football, in our opinion. However much you value our opinion, apparently you do because you guys all showed up. I appreciate everyone that tuned in. This is Mike on the mic, TikToker, whatever you want to call me, talking to all of you guys who showed up from the TikTok page for the grading fantasy teams. You also helped me get a bunch of these out of the way. We have a lot of requests to get to. We're going to keep doing them through the first couple weeks of the season. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm sincerely thankful for you guys. What are you thinking, Tony? Outro.
Hit it.
Just hit it.
The Warzone Sports Network presents the Fantasy Football Speakeasy.